Our schools teach us a lot of things, but there's a lot of things that our schools don't teach us. Our home life teaches us a lot of things. There's a lot of things our home life doesn't teach us. Sexual education is one of these things that if we don't educate our kids about, the world isn't going to teach them. Now, this isn't about sex ed, but I just want to cover some of the funny things that happen to Christians when they don't get into sex ed. There, I've spoken to sorry, I've spoken to officials in the business of reproduction. When families are having a problem having kids, this poor woman, the first thing she had to do is, do you know how to have coitus, basically? And she found some adults simply did not. They thought it involved putting into the belly button, or uh, or putting the wieners and beans all the way in. Yes, putting the wieners and beans all the way in. So there's conversations we don't like to have because they're unsettling. We don't want to talk about meaningful things anymore because meaningful things are unsettling. So we talk forever about nothing. I've just listened to a whole bit about Nietzsche's in this. He hated going to social events because it was so difficult to put on that mask. To put on that mask and be fake. That's one thing I hate about social situations. I suck at being fake. I really suck at being fake. Um, Geez, then we just kind of pile mask upon mask upon mask on, and then we have to wonder who our true selves are. That's an identity crisis most teenagers go through, but at the same time, I wonder if any adult goes through this. I feel like this is a society that very much would sell out oneself in order to have finances, because finances are survival, but it's not integrity. Meanwhile, the people who want integrity don't necessarily have the items, so they'll probably live a much more difficult life. And I'm saying that because I'm looking back in I don't know how many thousands of years ago, but over in Europe, they found that they had clans of people who would, they just one wife and one dog and maybe some kids in a land, and then you got marauders that come and they take the woman and everything, and then they'll literally massacre everyone, take all of what they have, and even have their women, legitimately even have their women. I don't know what stepped up in society to change it, but that's one thing they definitely found. There was a mass culling. If you want to research this, there was a mass culling or mass die-off. All species tend to have a mass die-off, and it clearly seems like in this situation the mass die-off happened just because the people with the cleavers, let's say, didn't mind getting their hands dirty. It got downright skull cultish. A really interesting thing to watch. But within it is the reality that sometimes there are no gods, and it's just survival at the end of the day. Bringing us back to survival, the things that they need to teach us in school. There's stuff that your parents need to teach it or school needs to teach it. Sex ed, doing taxes. But what I'm going to say next is very important. Conflict resolution. Conflict resolution is so important these days because everything is about egos. You know, everyone's talking narcissism these days. Well, if you want to go back before everyone is shouting those things, everybody needs to be disagreeable. Disagreeable people get further. Blam, it's just how it goes. You want to play the system? There's plenty of people. Okay, so I had a friend that was working for a landscaping company. Landscaping company deals with everybody, especially the rich. You have to have a lot of money if you want to get into landscaping. So he would go out. He was a computer guy, but sometimes he ticked off the office ladies. Don't tell him I said that. And they would complain to the manager, and the manager would send him out. So he would run into situations where he was doing work right in front of the owner, and if the owner didn't like something, the owner wouldn't be like, oh, hey, can you do this way and that way. The owner would complain about any little thing that he could in order to get a lower bill. And sometimes women in the office would complain about people who let's say the bill was for $350. That individual would send that rich person would send a check for 325 or 300 and not the full amount. People get so disagreeable and they will do the dumbest things. And then once you get so much money, you kind of get into a new level. You get your triangle of how much money you have and therefore how good a human being you are based off how you dress, act, associate, all of those things. It exists. It absolutely exists. When you get higher up in that level, it doesn't really matter so much if you screwed people underneath you. So there's a lot of people legitimately getting higher because they're being disagreeable. There's other people out there that just don't know how to deal with these individuals because they think legitimately if they just do their work and they do their stuff, everything will be good and they'll make their way up, which is something women are known for doing, being very agreeable. A woman needs to be agreeable. This isn't something that like I'm saying. This is clinical psychologist stuff and not just one of them. Women need to be different because they are the ones that deal with the children, and dealing with a child is really something. If you're not a parent, if you aren't a parent that has had to deal with a child, you don't even get an opinion on this one. Raising a child is a hell in and of itself. If you haven't raised a child in the I'm terrified and exhausted at 3 a.m. way, you have no idea what I'm talking about here. Women have to be built a little bit different because they have to deal with children. Once again, this isn't coming from me. They need to learn to navigate the baby. They need to learn to navigate the family and still keep everything going as smoothly as it is. Traditionally, it seems like men are the providers and women are there to make sure that everybody has enough. And I can honestly say that everything that I've seen with women, that rings true. Like every now and then you'll come across a greedy one, but yin yang, you're bad and the good, you're good and you're bad, right? And not understanding how many resources are available for this, that, and the other thing. One thing I'm noticing is when agreeable girls, we make girls really agreeable, and then we don't teach them how to keep men at bay and or boys at bay at parties, 16-year-old parties where alcohol gets involved. And like we need to teach little girls, if a man, let's say, yeah, that won't upset me too much. If a man, because I gotta teach my daughter this stuff, right? If a guy pinches your ass, give him a slap. That is not cool. Tit for tat. Like, you're not going to get the cops. And like, is this assault? Yeah. Are you going to get the cops involved? No. But they stepped out of line. Socially, you give them a slap. Like, I actually have already done this with my kid. I've been, slap. Because, sometimes I got to get a little bit less jumpy too. But, yeah, slap her. And a lot of my new girlfriends, now that I'm divorced, when I go and see new women, I will tell them, I want you to, if I step out of line, be comfortable with telling me to fuck off. I think every woman going to any date needs to know if a guy isn't it, and tell him to fuck off. Those are the boundaries, right? Because sometimes guys will push stuff, right? So we need to be disagreeable. We absolutely need to be disagreeable. I think that if you talk to a woman who was born in the 40s or the 50s and talking about, oh, geez, I'm not even comfortable talking about this, like how that would work. Like, men can be really pushy. And, okay, let's stop. No. We need to teach kids like self-defense, how to be disagreeable. But also we need to teach computer guys how to be disagreeable. We need to teach the smaller guys how things are going to be like when we get out there, because there's a lot of people that just leave school thinking everything's going to be hunky-dory. The world's going to look out for them, and if they simply try their best, nothing will happen. What we need to make sure that we get into people's heads is that they could be wrong. First off, you need to argue, but you could be wrong. It's okay to be wrong. We need to be able to we need to be able to come to a consensus. We need to be able to reach the end. If we're going to be arguing, it shouldn't be ego explosion. One party is destroyed and the other party exists, and slink off. Like, no, it can't be like that. We got to work together. We got to make sure we're all on the same page, and discourse is proportional. We need to make sure that we don't overblow things, and that absolutely happens sometimes. Sometimes parents overblow things, like the satanic panic of oh geez, I guess we had one of those. I should do a video on that one. There was a satanic panic in 2006 in Canada. The funny thing is, people don't like talking about those things. That's another thing nobody likes talking about when we screw up, and we do. We screw up big. Um, oh man, that satanic panic was really something. Like in the States, to look back at it now is really cringe, and you're like, it was so bad. 53 people got sent to prison for things that never happened. Never happened. They were just pulling things out of kids' heads. Anyways, after that, I can completely understand why men wouldn't want to go to psychology, to a psychologist. And honestly, when I think about older men that just didn't want to go to the doctor, I don't think that's so much of a thing now, but it was a thing back in the day. Men did not want to go to the doctor. And I'm pretty sure we can all see why now. The doctors didn't know what the fuck they were doing until like the 50s. Let's face it, they might have had some ideas sometimes, but oh man, even in like I think if I was alive in 1930, I don't think I would trust the doctor unless he was like my close personal friend. After, let's face it, all the things we've learned. When was penicillin invented? Yeah, anyways. We need to teach kids to be more disagreeable, especially on the internet. I mean, everyone's like having meltdowns, not being able to deal. We have a system that is there to get us going, get us upset. When I was in media class, first thing that I was told, one of the first things is that you want to make people want to get up and do something. You want to make them, let's do something. Call to action. Yeah, it's call to action. And you have to make the people want to get up and do something. Now that's all that everyone's doing. They're just getting up. There was a time Charlie Chaplin said, people are thinking too much and feeling too little. I'm really thinking people are feeling too much and thinking too little, because I myself can also get involved in arguments that my heart takes me away from, and the meaning gets lost in it, in the emotion. Thoughts and chaos. Thanks for listening to my rants, folks. Take it easy. Take care of each other. Have a good one.